eBay sellers. You have landed on episode 208 of eBay the Right Way. Today's date is March 12th, 2025. My guest today is Lori in Florida. Announcements. Well, this isn't really an announcement, more just a rambling thought. Today, March 12th, is a day I always remember, and I almost said today's date is March 12th, 1908, because that was my grandmother's birthday. She used to come stay with us for a month around Christmas back in the 80s when I was a teenager after my grandfather died. She was funny and a classy, sophisticated lady. She always wore a dress and a girdle and stockings and low-heeled leather Ferragamo pumps. My sister and I would drive her to the beauty parlor to get her hair done every week, and for some reason, she loved telling people how old she was, and she would always say, "Well, darling, I was born on March 12th, 1908." So that date is burned into my brain. And I really wish I had talked more with her or even made tape recordings of her telling stories about her life. The things she must have experienced and witnessed that future generations will never understand. 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the automobile industry, air travel, changes in fashion, and just daily life in general. So, a shout out to my Meemaw, Virginia Allison from Tampa, Florida. I'm thinking about you today. Okay, now on to the chat with Lori.
Hello, listeners. I have Lori with us today, and we're recording later in the day, and we're both at our best in the morning, so we're just going to get through this. So, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm very good. A little bit tired, like you said, but I am plugging along.
Okay, and where are you located?
I'm in Oviedo, which is east of Orlando, Central
Mhm.
Florida area. Yeah.
Okay. Have you been there for a long time? Is that where you're born and
Yeah.
raised?
I'm actually from North Florida. I was born and raised in Gainesville, and we moved down here 28 years ago.
Okay.
Lived in the same house and raised 5 children.
Okay. Are you an empty nester or you still got some there?
Yes, empty nester. My youngest is 29.
Oh, you don't look old enough for that.
Oh, thanks. Now you're my new best friend.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 5 kids. My husband was married before, but his first wife died and he had 2 kids, and then we ended up having 3 together. So
Okay.
grandparents to 9. So we're busy.
Wow, you are busy. Okay. So you got that going on. And is eBay your full-time income or do you work another job?
No, eBay is my full-time income.
Oh, good. I love to talk to those.
Yeah. I've sold on other platforms as well, but yeah, I do the majority on eBay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
22 years later.
And so what got you started on eBay? What happened in your life that pushed you into eBay?
Well, I joined back in 2002 just for fun, not knowing how to not knowing how to do anything back when there was cashier's checks and only online auctions. And but I've always had a real good eye, and I wanted to stay home with my kids, and so I would pick up little things here and there. I've always been an entrepreneur, anyways, uh, and so I would pick up a Barbie here or there,
Mm-hmm.
and the first thing I ever sold was a brand new Rubik's Cube, sealed, and it went for $75. So
Oh.
that was fun. I paid like 50 cents at a yard sale for it. And
Mm-hmm.
Back when the Great Recession happened, my husband had kept getting cuts in pay, and so it kind of pushed me to start selling. And I did eBay and Amazon. eBay kind of upset me because I just didn't. I was learning how to do it on my own. I didn't have any training, so I kind of did more Amazon for a little bit of time because it was easy, very easy back then.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and then during, I guess about 10 years ago, I started doing more on eBay. I started watching YouTube videos and improving on what I did. And I went to some of the, when COVID happened, the virtual eBay Open happened.
Right.
And I started meeting other people and just kept improving on what I do and what I know. And but really, back to your original question, when the Great Recession happened, it was one of those things. Is like I had to do something to make money. My kids were still at home, and they were classically trained violinist, and um, lessons were expensive. And if they were going to keep doing that, which was helping them get scholarships, we had to figure out what to do. So I just started uh, really focusing on selling.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good for you. So have you been doing it off and on the whole time?
I've been doing it on. I
Uh-huh.
haven't really, it hasn't stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I what at the time we were just trying to make I was just trying to make a couple $100 extra a month. And now it's, after my kids left home, I was going to go back to work because I'd gone to school. Um, and I became a medical transcriptionist, and I thought, well, I'll go back, but I make more money doing eBay.
Mm-hmm.
So decided this way I can stay home. I can help my kids if they need me to. I can vacation with my husband when we want because he has a job where he gets about 6 weeks vacation. And so I wouldn't get 6 weeks vacation if I got a full-time job anywhere. So,
Right, right. Okay. What kind of things did you sell on Amazon?
I first started selling, uh, on Amazon. The first thing that I sold on Amazon was a book, and it was on how to write a book. Um, and I spent like $3 or $4 on it, and it sold for 40 bucks. So that was like, wow, I can do this. And this is before smartphones. I mean, so
Uh-huh.
I kind of went with my gut. I sold video games. I sold video consoles. Um, I always say that I would sell anything that turns green, you know?
Yeah.
And I even sold some antiques on there. I mean, it was back before they gated us. You know, I sold CDs, I sold movies. I sold new stuff. I sold Sony Walkmans.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I made better money on Amazon than I ever did on eBay selling any of those things. But eBay basically, this Amazon started blocking you, so everything was gated.
Right.
Uh, and then you had to take a return. eBay basically had my back more, I felt like. So I kind of switched back to just doing eBay, and I haven't looked back. I haven't sold.
Yeah, I had that same experience. And just for the listeners that don't know what we mean when we say gated, it's if you wanted to sell on Amazon in certain categories, you had to be approved and you had to show that you knew this product and where have you sold it before and what's in your inventory and all this pre-approval stuff for people that had been doing it for 3 or 4 years. And so they created this process for gating the categories. And I was selling groceries, I was selling books, and I don't know if books ever got gated, but it was all the maybe the higher return products or something like that. I mean, there was a rhyme and reason to it, but as sellers that had been on there for a number of years, it was just, you'd get that email, you can no longer sell in this category. You have to jump through all these hoops. And it was quite stressful. if you were selling across a lot of different categories.
Yeah, it was. It was frustrating, and I finally got to the point. It's like I will just up my eBay and change. And I think that's part of being a reseller. You have to shift. You have to be willing to see what's trending, what's gone out of style, and shift. I mean, back in when I was selling on Amazon, I was selling Palm Pilots all the time.
Okay.
And Palm Pilots are not relevant anymore. So
No, it's like selling VCRs when Blu-ray or DVDs came along. I mean, now VCRs will sell because they're sort of an antique item, People still want them for different things, but if you were in the VCR business, you had to figure out something else
yeah,
because all the technology gets dated, and until it becomes vintage and desired again, like console TVs, like nobody wants those unless you're going to make an aquarium or a dog bed out of it,
right. Well, on Etsy, the old ones, those will sell to movie sets, but I don't want to deal with those. So
That was just an example of you have to go
you
with
have
the
to,
flow, and you have to pivot and be able to go in a different direction if the product you're selling doesn't work anymore. And I did the same thing as you. I went back to eBay 100%, and vintage items, things they don't make anymore. That's what I always look for. And then you said like trending, and not just clothing, but home decor and hobbies and all that kind of stuff is, what's the hot thing? You got to be in tune with that.
yeah, you're going to be watching what's happening around you too. When the recession hit, my husband and I, because he was off on Fridays at that point, and so we would go out and we would watch what people were buying, because I'd always been a thrifter. I'd always gone to garage sales and estate sales. And so we basically developed our own costume. So we would wear like khaki pants or denim jeans and a plain shirt without, I'm from Gainesville, so I wouldn't wear a Florida Gator shirt anywhere. And
Right.
he would wear a Red Sox hat because he had a couple people say, "Oh, you're a Red Sox fan. Your price just went up." So it was like we kind of got into the game of, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and we did it. And you know, we dressed the part and played it, and we watched what people were buying, and that's kind of how I learned to do some of the things that I sell now. It's like they were asking for this, they would ask for the same thing every time. Do you have any fishing items? Do you have any jewelry? I buy gold and silver. I buy costume jewelry. And do you have any video games? And I was like, I'd start watching to see what they were buying.
Mhm.
And then we had to make a deal of what we were willing to spend. I was like, I'm too cheap. I'm only going to spend $1 or two. My husband's like, you're going to have to shift a little bit and start spending a little bit more. Because I missed out on there was a BlackBerry, and I remember because we could have flipped it for $100, but it was $50. And I felt like maybe that was too much. And I didn't have a smartphone. So I had
Mhm.
to come home and research on the computer Blackberries. And I was like, man, I could have made $100. We went back and it was gone already. And I sold
Mhm.
a ton of Blackberries too. I even sold those on Amazon.
Really?
And yeah, I did. But I did probably more of those on Amazon because before I switched back to just eBay.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, do you have anything that you specialize in? I'm guessing after all these years, you probably do.
Well, I always say I know a little bit about a lot of things.
Okay. What are some
Um,
of your most successful sales?
well, this year I sold well, not this year, but in the last few months, I got a hold of a Linux set of spices,
Okay.
and they were there was 24 of them. There was two of them brand new in the box, complete, not ever out of the bags. And then there was nine in a bag. This was at Goodwill. And they had the ones in the bag for like $6.99, and the other ones were like $12 or something. And nobody wanted them. Nobody knew what they were. And I picked up the bag and I was like, saw what they were. And this is before they became really, I mean, before I knew that they were a thing. This is me finding things out as I go. But I looked at the bag and I said, oh, those are Linux. I know those are something. So I put them in my cart, and somebody was looking at the 2 boxes and he says, those are more spices. I said, okay. So I picked them up and took them home. And within about 3 weeks, they sold for $1,000. So
Oh gosh.
yeah. And that was before they released, they're doing a new set, and you can get them, I think, for 300 or 350. And back in the 80s, late 80s, I think these were like $14.99, and you could get the whole collection. So, these are hand painted and better made. And this is I kept going back to the store looking. They have a spice rack in the shape of a house, but I never could find it. I was disappointed because I was like, somebody probably donated that too, but
Right.
I missed it. I missed it. So that was a good one.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Last week, and I posted this on your Facebook page, that I sold a smoking silk robe, like the Hugh Hefner robe.
Okay, right.
If you ever find those, if they're silk, they're men, they can be holy. It does not matter. I mean, not people will buy them. And I paid $6 for that, and it sold for $189.
Okay, so was it red with the black?
This one was like a red with black.
Okay.
I have found them gray with black. Anything like that. If you find anything like a Chinese kimono kind of thing, they will sell. And I always ask. I had this one, I think I was asking $289, and I knew I would take an offer. And I did. I took an offer of $189. So that was good.
Not a bad flip for $6.
No, not bad at all. I look for unique things, and I try to find things that, because you have to. So many people are doing this, and they're looking for they're always looking for video games and such as that. But I sold a phone cord purse, and I'd never found one in the wild. Like I'd never found one. Have you heard of the phone cord purses?
No, what is that?
So they took the old phone cords from the 60s and 70s and 80s and made them into a purse. And literally you see the cords. So some of them are really well designed with the black phone cords from the 80s. And they have different patterns of them. And I paid $6.99 at Goodwill, and I sold that for $145.
Okay, yeah, I just looked that up here so I can see what you're talking about. I envisioned it being the phone cords woven together, but they can just be laid out in patterns.
Yes.
So it's a geometric looking thing, but yeah, you can absolutely see it looks like they're glued on to another purse. Like you get a plain purse and then you glue the cord on in whatever stripe or concentric circles or
Yeah. They're very popular. And the ones that are really dynamic have a lot of different patterns. They're worth more, but I was pretty pleased to have found one, and people were walking by it, which doesn't normally happen.
So that begs the question, should we be selling the old phone cords? Because people are going to be looking for those to make the purses out of.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked to see. That would be something interesting.
If you found old phones, and some of them are worth money, but not all of them, or if they're too beat up to even be nice decor, you could just sort of stockpile the cords and then sell those as the raw material to make the purses out of.
Yeah,
Gotta get the cords from somewhere.
Yeah, we got to look that up and see.
Yeah.
That's to think about. I also sell a lot of vintage linens, and it doesn't have to be like super name brand, but I've sold some Ralph Lauren for $150 recently. I sold another set of vintage sheets. They were really no name brand that I'd ever heard of, but they were from the 80s, and they were like really bold pink, blue, turquoise colors, and they were brand new. And those sold for $198.
Oh gosh.
And
Okay.
I paid $12 for those.
Okay.
So that was good.
I just looked this up on eBay research just to
Yeah.
see if there were lots of phone cords, and what's at the top are the purses. So,
Yeah.
but it certainly could be a thing if you kept
They were
seeing.
making them, they were making them back many, many years ago. So
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they're still making them.
Oh, I see. Oh, so I'm late to the party on that. I did not know. I thought this was like a
Yeah,
curse.
but you could be on the lookout for the purses.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Those are funky.
Another unique thing that I had no idea about, was cookie cutters.
Hmm.
And I mean, I knew some about it. I'd heard about the Martha Stewart ones, but I haven't found those. I'm on the lookout for those. Those can sell for a lot of money. But I was at a estate sale, and they are usually really overpriced, but they had all the cookie cutters in a basket, and I just sat down and I started picking out the really unique ones, and I paid $1 a piece for them. And I sold one that was it was a Christmas tree, and it was made by a company called K. Dunwoody.
Okay.
I never heard of them,
I
but it's,
haven't either.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have known, but it's sold for $90.
And what was the shape?
It was a Christmas tree.
Oh, okay.
So there are some cookie cutters. If you get a chance to look at at different cookie cutters that sell, you'll see, and I've sold more than one of those, and that, but the Christmas tree was really a good one. So yeah, I've sold a motorhome on our old motorhome on eBay too, and a truck.
Oh, really? Big things.
Yeah. So those are fun things, but
Okay. Well, you went to an interesting event before our call today. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
yeah. So if in all the areas pretty much, and eBay is sponsors seller events, and I have a meeting that meets once a month here in Central Florida, in the Oviedo, Winter Springs area. And I got invited to one from a woman that is starting, had just today was actually the first event. She's um, Trish Glenn, and she works for List Perfectly, and she hosts a meetup in New England.
Mm-hmm.
And she has bought a home down here in Florida. And so she hosted an event, and we met at it was sponsored by List Perfectly. And we went to Salvation Army and did a tour of Salvation Army. And I learned so much stuff, just simply talking to or listening to the people that are working there and what their mission is. And the closest Salvation Army to me is like 25 minutes away, and I rarely go. But when I do my donations, I always try to donate there, or to a place like that. But they are a great company, and they showed us a whole tour of the building. And I don't know if they do this in every place, but they actually have an auction on I think it's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And they sell pallets of clothes out there. They sell furniture, and they they auction it off right there in the back of the Salvation Army.
Okay.
So
I didn't
very
know that.
no, I didn't know that. I don't know if they do it everywhere. But this one in Orlando is, I mean, it's really clean, and the people that are working for Salvation Army have gone through most of them have gone, they do hire some people, but most of them have gone through the program to get clean. And they take a lot of pride in what they do, and it's really cool to go in and see what they're doing. Um and their prices, they even said they've gone down on their prices. I went in briefly. I don't I don't want to buy clothes. It's not my thing that I really want to do, so I don't buy a whole bunch of clothes. And so I kind of went in real quick to look around, but they're dropping their prices instead of raising them.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, my Goodwill locally is raising their prices
Mm-hmm.
on just about everything.
Mhm.
I haven't seen him go down on anything. So, it's a good thing to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what else? How long was the tour?
So actually what they did was they offered breakfast. Liz Perfectly sponsored it and they had breakfast and we started at 9 and then the one of the men that spoke was telling us that he actually goes in and he does pull some things that he knows are valuable. Um and um they auction them off starting at 1999.
Mhm.
uh, and they auction them off. They give them 3 chances. And if they don't sell for 19.99, then they lower the price down to 9.99. And if they don't make the cut, then they either lot stuff together or they put it out to auction outside behind their building. And there's somebody that's in charge on the that does eBay auctions, and they sell on eBay and it's auction only. And he actually had showed us his facility of his room, and he has somebody working for him, and they do all the shipping and everything in there. And the tour went from 9 to 3.
Mhm.
So I
Gosh.
left a little bit early. I didn't stick around and shop because I knew I was going to be talking to you, but they did where you could go in and shop afterwards. So they were speaking, and then we did the tour, and then we had lunch, and then we went shopping.
Okay.
Actually, we and Trish spoke, and then Dana spoke. So it was very informative. It's really good if you're able to connect with any seller meetup groups, or start one. eBay's been really good about sending me swag, and so if you come to the meetings, um, I will have sometimes I have gift cards or bags or cups or journals or, you know, stickers, something like that. And
Mhm.
it's been really good, and it's connecting with other eBay sellers and learning something that you don't know, or maybe you can teach somebody or help somebody.
Yeah, I've had a few just informal meet and greet type things. Let's all meet for coffee if you're in this area type of thing. And I always learn so much because we're all interested in different things. And especially if you move to a new location, that's the last time I did it when I moved to South Carolina in 2022 because I just wanted to talk to other resellers and get their input on the good places, the not so good places, the sales stuff that isn't really advertised, what the sale days are, and oh, get this little town newspaper and there's coupons in there. We had something here called the attractions book. It used to be called the entertainment book. And like the high school band would sell them. And it was full of coupons for restaurants and anything in the area. And there were coupons in there for thrift store stuff, 50% off your purchase, no limit, things like that. So I think the book was like $15 and it paid for itself in one coupon. So
Yeah.
things like that you might not know moving to a new area, because I didn't have kids in school or anything, so I wouldn't have known about that fundraising book. But you're right. And if you're an organizer, starter type person, start your own group.
Well, the way I looked at it was we all have to eat. So I try to do mine at lunchtime. There's another one that's in Orlando, that's in the evening, and I'm usually tired in the evening, so I could not, I just knew driving 30 minutes and sometimes 45 minutes because of rush hour traffic in Orlando was going to be a challenge for me. So
Mhm.
I started my own group from people that meet at lunch, and there's several people that come, and it's been fun. We just eat and we meet for hour and a half, and um it's been very entertaining for me. I'm not an expert. There's people that come that I'm sure they know more than I do. They've been doing it maybe longer, but learning how to ship or um you know one of the things that I think is we were talking about today. There was a lady that never come to any meeting, and she was fairly new. uh when she was talking about she couldn't find something, so she canceled the sale. And you have to be really careful about canceling sales because you don't want to go below standard, because
Right.
you off. And she was just horrified that they would kick her off. They're not having the, you know, being able to send something out. And so we talked about that and about, she said she doesn't accept returns. And one of the key things I say is you may as well just accept returns. Like for the most of everything, you may as well accept returns because eBay will take it back if they open an INAT against you, which, so I always say just take the returns. It's not, if it's sold once, it's going to sell again. And it's not that big of a deal. Just do it and learn from it because there's always a lesson in this stuff.
Mhm.
So that's my opinion about.
Well, and you have to have the customer service mindset because a lot of newer people coming to eBay are like, nope, I'm not taking returns. Once I sell it, that's it. I'm done. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not how this works. You've got the customer can leave feedback
Yeah.
and they actually get the last word if eBay may force the return, or it's just better to sell it with a return policy because I'm not going to buy anything online that I can't return because if it's not right, if it's not the right color, if it's clothing and doesn't fit. And I love Amazon Prime because I'll take chances on all kind of things. And if it's some cheap, crappy thing made in China that falls apart in 2 days, I'm sending it back because they
Sure.
have that policy. So, and especially clothing sellers,
And
there's
I
just
think,
people are going to buy clothing online if you can't return it because especially if it's pre-owned because it could be stretched out, it could have shrunk in the wash, you don't know.
yeah, and I think most people, I think sometimes people have the mindset that everybody is a criminal
Mm-hmm.
and, they're taking advantage, but it's like, and there are people that, will scam and, you have to be on the lookout. And eBay, if you accept returns, eBay's going to have your back anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And I have learned that I sold a cell phone and, it came, the person before they even got it told me that it was not delivered. And I could see that it had been delivered. And then they told me it didn't work. And I contacted eBay and they're like, we'll offer him 50%. And I'm like, I gave him a deal. I was really frustrated. They ended up refunding me and the person. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't it was a year old or 2-year old iPhone at the time. And it was like, you know, they actually did have my back. So I
And
think,
most of the stuff we're selling, we get so cheap. So
right,
it's really, you're not out the $30 they paid, you're out the $3 you paid
right.
and
Yeah,
the shipping if it comes to that. But again, returns, 75% of the people that open a return don't send it back.
yeah,
And it just times out on them.
yeah, it's true.
So, okay. Well, what other kind of fun eBay stories do you have from over the years?
Well, one of the times I went out yard selling and my husband went with me the next day and I told him, I said, well, I've already been to the sale. And so I let him go and he comes back in and he hands me a, a pair of sunglasses. And I was like, those are hideous. And he says, well, but you should look at them. Well, they ended up being, I think they were Oakley's and they had a special coin. And I got home and I listed them. This is before it was buy it now. And I listed them starting at 99 cents. And all of a sudden, I was having all these offers. Hey, I'll give you $200. I'll give you $150. I'll give you 220. And I'm like, what is going on? And this is before I knew that there was a seller hub. This is before I knew you could get marked down for canceling anything with bids. Um,
Uh-huh.
and so I contacted everybody and I said, I'm ending this auction because I listed it. I'm going to list all the flaws with this item. My husband works, works with optics. And so he took the sunglasses underneath a microscope and we noted every flaw. And I took better pictures and I described it better. And we sat there watching the auction. It ended at $330.
Oh my gosh.
That was fun. And they were just, he paid $1 and it was a picker. It was somebody that I know that goes out to yard sale and buys stuff to resell. You just can't know everything, you know? But that was a fun one. Um, I sold Disney princess. I don't know. Have you seen the Disney princess ornaments that are shoes?
Yes, I have.
So I have the first one I ever found was brand new. It was $3.99 at Goodwill, and I sold it for $125. Yeah, and so it sold immediately too. I was like, okay. So then within a couple weeks, they got all the Disney shoes, like several of them, and they put them all in a bag. And of course, one of the best ones was broken because they
Uh-huh.
put them all in a bag. But I got those and I've been selling. I sold another one. It was the one that I sold was I think it was Tiana, and she sells for a lot. I think Pocahontas sells for a lot. And I'm selling them. I paid for the bag. I think I paid uh 14.99, and I've been selling them little by little, but I sold another Tiana and I sold that one for 98, and it was missing the ribbon to hang it on the tree, and they weren't new. So I've been selling them for probably around $45 average. So those are good ones to look out for. Those are fun ones.
Do you
Uh,
see a lot of Disney stuff since you're so close to it?
so I do, but so many people are on the lookout for it. So I don't, and I'm pretty careful because, you know, Disney clothing doesn't sell. If you find the new stuff, it does. I have sold the popcorn buckets. Those can sell for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them sell for quite a bit. And every time I find those, I just get them because I know I can sell those and they're lightweight to ship. Um, and then, um, oh, I was at an estate sale and I found some dishes and they were marked at $40. And I was like, they were plates and it was like a whole set. And I could tell they were old and they were white and blue and gold. And I flipped them over and it was Lennox for Tiffany.
Oh,
And I paid $40 for the whole set. And I have been selling them little by little for a lot of money. I sold like I sold 5 dessert plates for $235.
wow.
Oh, and then I have the cream. I've had the cream bowls. I still have some dinner plates. I have the teacups. So I just piece them out and sell them, you know, at little by little like that. I sold a Canon Power Shots always sell very well for me.
Okay.
Any camera that is, especially the Canon Power Shot, but you know, be on the lookout for cameras. I bought one for $12.99 and I sold it for $184.
Oh my gosh. You're great at this.
I'm not trying to tell you all my big sales. I'm actually going through this is the stuff that has sold in the last 3 months. You know, I try to keep my profit margin really high so I don't have to spend too much time doing this, you know.
Right.
Um, so I did sell some Mackenzie Childs dishes recently. It was a children's tea set, and they're
Mm-hmm.
still selling them on their site for $175. I paid three, and mine sold for 100 plus shipping. So yeah, and I didn't know about Mackenzie Childs until I guess in the last couple of years by meeting other resellers.
Uh-huh.
So, and I've sold a few of her things, which those are pretty unique and fun.
How many items do you have in your store?
I have over 1,500.
Oh, and
Yeah.
what's the bulk of it?
Um, I'd say jewelry at this point.
Okay.
I will tell you another memorable sale for me was I was at a yard sale and it was the next street over and it was a Saturday morning and they always say, often they'll say, are you looking for anything? And I always say jewelry. And so she says, I don't have jewelry, but my daughter's coming back and I know she has some jewelry. So I went back and I got a dress for $5. And then I saw that she said her daughter had brought the dress and the jewelry. So there was a wooden bracelet, and it was yellow, and it was signed in the inside of it. So I said, well, that may be something, but I could tell it was hand painted. And I got home and I looked it up, and it was a bracelet done by, I think his name is Rodolfo Contreras, I believe. But he's a painter in New York City in the 80s. And I looked up his name, and on eBay they were selling for like $50, but there was nothing they had sold for like $50. And this is before they had the 3 years you could look at product research for 3 years. You could go back 3 months. So I had Worth Point and I looked, and there was a couple that had sold for over $200, and he did bracelets, earrings, several different things. I listed mine for $500 and I got an offer for $450 overnight. It was the name is a baseball player. I have it saved. I'll have to look and tell you. I think it's Rodolfo Contreras, though.
Okay. And so did you take that offer?
I did. And she
I
said,
would have.
yeah. She says, I'm a reseller too, but I am collecting this jewelry name and I would love it. And so, and it's really not something I would ever wear. And I took a chance on, actually, it was $1, but then they just threw it in. So I didn't even have to pay for it. So I was like, that was fun. Like when you
That
have,
was like almost too easy.
right. Yeah.
Love
So
days like that. Oh, yes. Some days there's nothing, and some days there's $450 on a free item.
exactly.
So do you have vintage costume jewelry, or is it just all kinds?
Um, so I do all kinds of costume jewelry. I've gotten to where I will tell you that Worth Point has helped me with that, because I found a piece and it's Hobey, and I had never heard of that until I started watching YouTube videos and reading books on jewelry, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I paid $15 for it. It was a rhinestone set. It hasn't sold yet, but I found it on Worth Point. And the reason I found it on Worth Point, because I looked at the highest sold Hobey item, and I have the same set that was owned by mine's green. The one that had sold was owned by Marilyn Monroe, and hers was
Oh,
ruby color, but mine is green color. So I'm hoping I can get, $500 to $800 on mine. It's very unique. It's amazing. So I have so much jewelry though in my shop. I'm getting, it took me a while to learn. I'm still learning, but I'm learning how to list it, because jewelry is overwhelming. There's so many different things with jewelry that there's no way that I'll ever know everything. So if I find a brooch that's unique, I'll list it. And I I have earrings sitting on my table in front of me that are, I know there's something, I don't know what they are, and they're costume jewelry and they're beautiful. So I will probably put them away until I learn a little bit more.
right.
I sold, one of the big sales I had was a Shriner brooch that was, it wasn't marked, and I didn't know anything about Shriner at the time, and I sold it for $475.
Okay. And where are you finding this? Estate sales?
This was at a garage sale. Yeah, and I
That's
paid,
fun. Yeah.
I ended up buying a whole set of stuff for 40 $40, and it was all these brooches. And so actually she said $40, and her husband said, you can't ask that at a garage sale. You need to ask like 25. And I know that somebody's going to be behind me trying to pick stuff up. So when he said 25, I said, no, I'll give you 40. So she said, well, hold on a minute. Cause I was like, I wasn't going to sit there and go through it, because I've had people breathing down my neck before. So I looked at it and I said, no, I'll give you 40. So she says, hold on. She goes inside, she comes back out with a handful of stuff. And I said, well, how much do you want? She goes, oh no, honey, you can just take it. And I said, no, I'm not just taking it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'll give you more money. So I gave her another, I don't know, I think I gave her 25 more dollars. And she says, do you have a card? I have more stuff. And she says, do you think you could come next week to look at it? And I said,
Uh-huh.
sure. So I ended up going back and I will buy people's estate of jewelry now at this point because I do know some stuff. You know, so I got home with that stuff and it's just so much stuff. It's just, of course, it's a wealth of, I'm becoming more knowledgeable because you have to have a wealth of information to know every piece of jewelry. And it was all of her jewelry. They were moving, they were downsizing. And yeah, so I'm still working on selling some of that.
Well, and we're fortunate we live in a time with so many resources to
Right.
research it. You know, you can do Google Images, there's jewelry groups, Facebook, and um, you know, you can get help with the identification, but I'm on board with you as far as it's very overwhelming, especially when you get a whole lot at a time. Because you're
Hmm.
thinking, what's the most valuable stuff? That's what I want to find first and sell that, you know, to get your you know, your profit going. So, but it's small and it's tedious, and you know, you do you have a jewelry loop where you look at things, or a magnifying glass,
I
or
have jewelry loops in every purse that I own, and then because I always need them, and I actually have bought this stuff to test to make sure it's gold or silver. Uh, I have the Presidium to check to see if it's gems or diamonds.
mm-hmm.
And I, a lot of times if I don't necessarily want people to know that I know anything because they may take it away. Because that's happened to me even at estate sales. It'll say, well, this is a dealer and I'm gonna let him buy it. And I'm like, but I'm a dealer too, so so I don't want anybody to think I know too much, but sometimes you want them to know that you know something.
Right,
So so I carry my loop with me and I will pay up for things if I know it's worth it. And I just, you just have to sit and take the time to do it. I mean, jewelry, the good thing about jewelry is it doesn't take up as much room as clothing does.
right.
So I find myself putting it away and pulling it back out, um and it's the way that I've gotten to keep things too that I would never buy because I'm pretty frugal when it comes to stuff and I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on jewelry or whatever. So yeah, but I was watching a video this morning on uh plastic that sells for a lot of money. And and there's always something I've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Always. So
You're talking
yeah,
about the vintage plastics, lucite, and that type of stuff.
yeah. Lucite, Bakelite, you know, some of it has it's interesting because some of the lucite is with sterling, jelly bellies. You know,
Right. Yes, I learned about that last year. And for the listeners, they are brooches or pendants that are like mixed metal, like it'll be a fly, but the body is that lucite stuff. So I had a brooch that was, I think it was a bumblebee. And so his body was the yellow lucite, looks like gel, but it's hard. And I did some research, like, is this a copyrighted name? You know, like Kleenex is a tissue, but is Jelly Belly a copyrighted name? Because I saw it on a lot of listings, but the research showed that, you know, one jewelry company invented it and now it's just kind of the standard name for that. So you're not, I didn't want to be keyword spamming if it was a
right.
brand. So I got off on, you know, went down the rabbit hole on that one. Like, I want to put the correct keywords so the buyers can find it, but I don't want to keyword spam if that's not what it's supposed to be called. So
Right.
yeah.
Some of them you have to actually, if, the research is fun, but sometimes it's very tedious, like you said, because you have to. I mean, I have found some pieces that I actually have to go back, find the patent number on a certain item and try and find out when it was made so that I can make sure that I get the amount of money out of it that I should. Uh,
Mhm.
and I mean, Google Image has been my friend in a lot of ways, but then sometimes people will put the wrong things. You have to really do enough research to make sure you know exactly what you have. And
Yes.
that is a problem. I went to one sale and a young lady was selling her grandma's stuff. And as I grabbed stuff, she said, "Oh, $1 a piece." And I was grabbing stuff and so she took her phone and Google image something. So she took something back and it went with one of the things that was in my pile. So
Oh.
once she started grabbing the stuff that I sorted through, and that's happened to me before, I just said, "Oh, I have 15 items," and I paid her because it was like, I don't like doing all the work for somebody either. Like
Mhm.
it takes me time and I have spent a lot of time learning how to do this. And so I said, "I'll give you $30 for that." But she wouldn't do it. She must have seen that it was selling for $400 or something. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, and it's costume jewelry can sell for more than gold or silver.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And that is a popular category right now, costume jewelry, especially the brooches.
Yeah. Yeah.
People love 'em. Yeah. And I always thought, oh, that's just something a lady would wear to church on her jacket, and
And I never wear it.
like our parents' generation,
Yeah.
they were big into that. And you'll look at old photos. I sold an old photo album the other day. That was fun, but all the ladies are in their suits and they've all got brooches on. And it was 60s and with their little pillbox hat and stuff like that. So um that was there's a lot of them around for that reason because our parents' generation had so many and they dressed up to go places and we don't do that anymore.
Now I was one of the times I went out and I had found a and it was old stuff. It was even the 20s and 30s that our grandparents were wearing this stuff. Um, but I stopped at the last yard sale. It was like around 11:30, and the lady says, "Are you looking for anything?" I said, I'm looking for jewelry. And she says, "Well, I have some." So she went inside and she came out and I didn't know what it was, but she said, "I want $40 for all of this. And the rest of this, if you want it, you can have it for 15." So I just took it all. And I got home and it was morning jewelry.
Oh,
Every
morning
bit of
like
it.
someone died.
Yeah. And the black and gold and seed pearls and yeah, and I made so much money off of that. That's what really got me going and really saying I can do something with this. And I can also keep things that I want to keep that I wouldn't buy on my own because I'm too frugal,
Right.
So and I've bought a few people's estates and like I said and take the time to and I will pay up for things if I know that it's gold and silver,
Hmm.
you know, or costume depending on what it is. But
So
I
do you have plenty of storage for your eBay business to grow?
I have it's not a huge house, so I try to get things to move, but I have a 4-bedroom home and no kids at home.
Hmm.
And we have a garage, but I'm in Florida, so we don't have a basement. Um,
Hmm.
so I try to move things quickly and not buy things that take up too much space. I was buying, I'm shifting because I was buying VCRs and things like that. And I'm like, I'm not buying those anymore. I don't want the headache of having to ship something that big, um, you know, anymore. And sometimes jewelry can make more than a VCR.
Oh
So
yeah. Uh-huh.
it's like I try to downsize, get rid of stuff. I'm enjoying learning toys. If I find cool toys, I'll buy those. I bought some Master of the Universe toys and I bought Ninja Turtle toys and so I'm learning a little bit here and there and I recognize old stuff. So there's things that I had a samovar. Have you ever seen a samovar? You know what that is?
No, what is that?
So it's it's a Russian tool that they like a um thermos that you can get like pour hot coffee out of.
Okay.
for the Russian winters that was really, really cold. And most of them are really huge and ornate. And so I sold one for $675.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, on eBay. And the person bought it and came to pick it up from my house. So I didn't have to ship it. So that was nice. And then I had so those are kind of cool. I've had a couple of them. Some of them can be made out of silver.
right.
So yeah. And I mean, and the only reason I even had heard of that was because we were reading Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky.
Okay.
I think I said his name right. And he talks about it. And then my friend actually had one that was like her family's, and she showed it to me, and I'm like, oh, that's the same. So I knew what it was. And it was just a coincidence that we went up to an estate sale and I found it.
No, that's not a coincidence.
No,
That was a meant to be kind of thing.
yeah, that it was a God thing. I tell you, he does look out for me. And I will,
Yeah.
that I pray about it before I go out, and then like, just, help me to find something that will bring me decent money, and, so I don't have to go to work.
Yeah, I do that too and ask the thrifting angels to help me. And sometimes I'll go to one store and just won't find anything. And it's very frustrating. But then that pushes you to go, well, I'm going to go one more place and check. And then you find great stuff.
Yeah,
And it's like you have to have that disappointment to have that push to go to where the items are waiting for you. And
right.
sometimes you'll find things you're like, I cannot believe this is still here.
Yeah.
After our Goodwill puts the dates on the tags, so you know how well that it's when it's tagged. I don't know,
Yeah, ours does too.
put on the floor, but sometimes it's 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm like, how has this been in here so long? And I know there's other resellers in my area. How has nobody picked this up yet? So I feel like it's put there just for you.
Yeah, we had gone on vacation, and I walked in there one day and there was this globe, and I was like, what is that? And I just took my Google camera, yeah, I mean my phone, my Google app, and I looked and I'm like, is that what I think it is? And it was, I went and looked at it, and it was to hold a telephone. The telephones that they're like stick telephones. Apparently, people thought they were really hideous, and the people that were very wealthy had these things made, and it's a globe that covers it up, and it would look like it was just a piece of decor. But to me, it was hideous. And somebody's got one listed for $1,200.
Okay.
A hold a stick it's like the candle holder phone. And I'm like, of course, mine doesn't have a phone with it, and theirs doesn't either. I've had that phone though. I wish I would have kept it now. Um, but it's made by Myers, and it holds a telephone, and I'd never seen it, and it'd been sitting there for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I was like, how is this here? I don't know.
Right. Right. Well, and I think we kind of get stuck in our own rat track, so to speak, looking at the same things all the time. And you just have to constantly push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And sometimes you don't want to stop and look things up, or you don't have time. You got to go pick your kids up or get your dog at the vet or get home to do something. And you just don't have time to look things up. And, I get it. You don't want to spend money on something if you don't know what it is, unless
Yeah.
go with that gut feeling, because sometimes that'll push you. And I love that saying where your intuition is God talking to you.
Yeah.
So when we pray or talk to God, that's us talking to God. But that's that internal, in the pit of your stomach, pushing you to do something or not do something, and listen to it, because a lot of times it works out really well.
And if it doesn't, you can consider it school and you can write it off.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, you will learn it and you won't buy it again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I'm familiar with, I'm not doing that again. I'm familiar with that going on in my head.
there's things that I love, and I always have loved glass, and I've always loved books. And so I will find things and I think, oh, I'm going to buy that, and I'll carry it around at Goodwill, not at a garage sale. It's typically cheap enough that I just take a chance and I'll buy
Mhm.
it. If I'm at Goodwill, I'll think about it, and then I end up sometimes putting it back. But sometimes it's like, you know what? You've had that just because you like it. There's a memory that is, my grandma may have had that or whatever. It's like, do I want to have that? It will sell, but it's going to take a year. And
Mhm.
do I really want to own that again? I'm careful now about buying the Pyrex. It has to be super unique to buy
Mm.
Pyrex to sell. And Linux, there's a lot of Linux that just won't sell. So it has to be really unique. So you have to be careful about what you're buying or you're going to get stuck with it and you'll have to donate it again. But you know,
Yeah, well, I love that as your final words because we've been going about an hour, and yeah, it's just this is an evolution. It's constantly changing, and you have to be able to tolerate some level of risk to do this business because nothing's guaranteed.
no,
I always think, well, if I can sell it for what I paid for it, I won't be out anything. So, well,
yeah.
it was great to finally meet you after all these years and talk eBay. So your day is coming to an end. I usually say, what are you doing for the rest of the day? But are you gonna be doing any eBay work this evening, or do you just relax with your husband?
I think I'm gonna have him take me out to eat tonight.
Perfect.
And yeah, I actually have some things ready to list. I've been working on listing little things that I ventured out last week and I got a few things at a different Goodwill and that was kind of fun. So I've been slowly adding them to list perfectly so I can add them to eBay when I want to.
Right.
So, but taking it easy, I get up really early anyways, so I'm not gonna do too much.
What does really early mean for you?
Well, I usually am up by 4 o'clock.
Oh, that is really early.
I don't sleep well anymore. I don't sleep well.
At
Last night,
4 o'clock, if I get up, I say, "Oh, goody, I got 3 hours."
I know. I wish I could do that. I did. I woke up at 2:30 last night, and I got up to do a few things around here because I wasn't planning on going to the event yesterday, and I wanted to make sure I had some things done. So I did get up early, and so then I did sleep until 5:30 today. But usually
Oh,
I'm up
shame
at 4.
on you, sleeping
I
in that
know.
late
But
before the
and
sun even came up. Yeah.
terrible.
Well, I admire anybody who can get up that early consistently. And if you're a workout person, working out that early in the morning, my body just won't do it. It never has. I've tried it at all different times in my life and even just recently. And it's like, I just can't, it just doesn't feel good to me. It's more stressful than anything. I'm an afternoon, early evening uh
I like to
exercise.
jog at 5:30 in the morning. If I can get out at 5:30 in the morning to jog, it starts my day and I'm good. And I'll just jog in my neighborhood. But
You just go do that and I will think of you when I'm under the covers.
okay, you do, please.
Okay, well, thanks again for coming on, and we'll look for
Thank
you
you.
on the Facebook group.
Thanks,
Okay,
Suzanne.
bye.
Bye.
Next week, my guest is a different Lori who is in North Carolina. We had some challenges scheduling the interview as she's in the area of Western North Carolina that Helene demolished. She's back up and running and has lots of great information to share. And thank you, listeners, for supporting this podcast and tuning in every week. Keep going and make it a profitable and productive week on eBay. Bye, everybody.